Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to kick things off super quick. Just a housekeeping item. We're going to hold questions till the end of the session. And then as people have their questions, feel free to go up to the mic at the end of the session. There's one on each side, and you'll be able to ask. But want to introduce our speakers today. We have Tim Riddle and Jay Sharma here to speak to us today. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to them. So thank you for joining.
Hello, everyone. Whoa, I'll talk lower so I don't blow you away. I'm Tim Riddle, be kicking it off, and I have my colleague here, Jay Sharma. He's going to be doing a live demo, so we're risking our lives here with Genie as well. So let's get started. We left our QR codes because we're not going to be able to get into everything, but if anybody wants to hit us up with questions later, we welcome that. We just want to share our journey with Genie and how we've done so far. Let's start with an introduction. So who is Premier? I think it's always useful to kind of understand our specific use case and how it can be relevant to your own. I know the summary of our performance, our data, a little bit more about our data, since many of us are data and AI people. Why did we choose Genie? For a couple years, we did, of course, text-to-SQL, RAGBots. Everybody was trying those out earlier. And why did we switch to Genie? And then Jay's going to, like I said, go over a real live use case with our data. It's healthcare data, so it looks real, but it's not, just full disclosure. And then a recap of our results. So let's just get started. All of you all have seen this, and remarking, I'm in Chicagoland, right? But I don't think there was a billboard that I didn't pass on the way from the airport that wasn't talking about agentic AI and AI in general. You know, any of us that have lived through like the internet boom or other stuff know that the Gen AI stuff has hit remarkably fast. And it's beating most humans at certain swivel chair tasks, right? We all know this, and this is just relevant for why we picked Genie and why we're thinking about, as a SaaS provider, doing stuff a little different, right? So we'll get into what Premier is, but over 2/3 of healthcare providers in America use one of our SaaS solutions to help improve their care. Second kind of macro trend, that if you all are following, is that not even sure there's going to be product managers everywhere. I'm a classically trained product manager. It's just really interesting as things are evolving. Do you need product managers? I think the answer is yes, but I'm biased. And the third thing in our industry, right, is the uptick in what does SaaS really mean. And I just throw those three things out because that's kind of what we're trying to evolve at Premier. We want to help our healthcare providers get to insights faster. But what does that mean when SaaS is no longer a thing, right? So what is Premier? So Premier helps over 2/3 of healthcare providers, should think health systems, hospitals, doctors in America do their thing. We also help them buy supplies from many of the pharma tech industries, so about $85 billion in pharmaceutical supplies come through our contracts. We help them coordinate contracts with big suppliers. And with that comes a lot of data that we capture in those solutions to help them. About 1 out of every 2 people that go to the hospital in America that are discharged are in our solutions. Of course, we have rules on how we use that data. Mainly, though, we're serving it back to them in a more cleansed fashion so they can help improve their care. And we have a ton of outpatient business as well. So with that, we try to look at all that data and give them insights into their bigger picture of how they deliver care in America, right? And we also, a lot of times, will partner with newer age organizations to bring those technologies into our portfolio to help organizations scale, again, to improve their care. It's all about improving the health of our communities in America. One level down from that, I just want to talk a little bit about the data that we used in this example. We get billing data, so if you've ever seen a hospital doctor bill, I'm sure all of you have, we get that data from our healthcare organizations, we clean and standardize it. And that's kind of the thing on the left. We call it quality enterprise, but basically it's a way to just take hospital billing data and normalize it for them and give them an apples-to-apples comparison. Fun fact, we also make disease outbreak software. So that was a popular and hot topic that we weren't expecting during the COVID era. About 1,000 hospitals. We do real-time clinical surveillance for about 1,000 hospitals in America, about 1 out of every 5. So we take real-time clinical messages and look for where outbreaks might occur in the hospital. So there, we're really looking at the pharmacy, the infection, the laboratory results of people that are staying in the hospital or the outpatient setting. All that data comes into a pot, and we have a thing that has AI-ready data in it. That's what we're using in our demo today. It's called Insights, is the product name. But really, if you think about it, this is common among all of us, right? 80% of the effort to get to where we show in Genie today is the stuff that nobody wants to talk about. It's the plumbing, right? It's how did you get Unity Catalog right? What was your descriptions, right? So we're going to make it look easy, but I just want to call out behind the scenes, we were working for 4 years not knowing Genie was coming, just knowing we needed to get our house in order. So a lot of wars around that. But at the end, we got a data as a service product. So that's one way we've evolved. So even as our SaaS solutions might change, AI-ready data is important, and it helps our organizations deliver better care by using that in different things, along with their other stuff that they have. And that's referenced here at the bottom too. 40% of organizations don't feel like their data is AI-ready. You see a lot of ads. If you go to LinkedIn every day, somebody's bombarding me with, is your data AI-ready? And that's the 4 years of work we did before we kind of plugged in Genie, is to make sure that we had a good Unity Catalog metadata store, make sure our data talk to each other. And I'm not saying that's easy, but I'm saying that makes it a lot easier when you get to implement Genie. So if you've done some of that work, it definitely helps. Now let's talk a little bit about our use case that Jay's going to demo. So I don't know how many of y'all have been to the hospital not feeling well, but as many as 1 in 5 people that are admitted to the hospital for something, pneumonia, whatever it is, come back within 30 days. And one study to make it a little more missionary is 30% of all children that get admitted to the hospital get bounced back, and they could have been prevented. Now, I don't know about you, that keeps me up in the morning as far as like making sure kids don't get sick and come back to the hospital. Now, we serve our healthcare organizations, and all of them are always trying to do the best, so it's not like this is things that they want to happen. What we do in a second I'll show you is we risk adjust that data so they can show opportunities to improve their care where it did happen. Like how do they close that gap, right? And this is how we do it. This is an eye chart, I know. But basically we take those 1 out of every 2 discharges we have in America, and we risk adjust it. Right now, you're probably asking, why didn't we go use the fanciest LLM? And the reason right now is because our healthcare organizations want explainability in their models. So we're still doing a model. We're trying LLMs, but we're still doing a model we can explain away all our variables. In this example, the patient had cancer, and that increases their risk depending on the outcome, a specific amount. Anyways, what we do is we calibrate all of our data, we roll it up, and we get to a model that says, did the patient have a readmission? And what do we expect the likelihood of them having that readmission was, right? So, imagine a 1, they were readmitted. Imagine a 20% chance that they would have been readmitted. You roll that up, you can see your service lines, your hospitals, your doctors. You can look for performance improvement opportunities. And we got 1 billion reports that they could look at. But we wanted a different way, because Gen AI, the one thing about Genie is it's allowing us to have people that are non-technical, not just pull reports, but actually have a conversation with their data. And that's what we wanted to do. So we've had some successes with this data as a service, right? There's some success stories because we want to plug ourselves shamelessly. But basically, we've done a lot of work with data as a service to help our healthcare organizations automate their manual work already. That had been done over the last couple of years. But really, we wanted to think about what could we do next. So with 60 plus tables, 2,100 columns of different data, 2,500 different measures for patients, and billions of records, it gets kind of hard for all of our healthcare organizations that are already strapped to figure out what their opportunities are. So that's where Genie came in. And we originally started doing this ourselves, right? For a couple years, we were doing text-to-SQL, RAGbots. We were trying to figure out. And then Genie came along. I'm like, great, I don't have to do that. I don't have to try to out-innovate where my download to Excel button is. Databricks is going to take care of that for me, and I'm going to get to focus more on how do I improve my data, which was nice. We want simple, right? A lot of times we make things a little complicated in tech world. We want to get to production. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a second. And it has all the governance and security that keeps us up at night so that we don't have a list of HIV positive patients that get released. So that was the other thing that was big. So really just before I wrap up and give it to Jay, kind of some of the, again, the highlights of the benefits of Genie. Have any of y'all heard of the Voyager probe, to get super geeky? The Voyager probe, we said, okay, so a while back, maybe about a year ago, I started describing that to people in my organization. It's like, we want to use Databricks as a gravity assist, right? We don't want to out-innovate Databricks. We want to innovate with Databricks or our partners. We're a mid-cap company. I mean, sure, we like to think we're better than we are, but we're a couple $2 billion in revenue. We can't innovate everything, but if we can use partners and use Genie, then we can act like the Voyager probe. We can slingshot ourselves, right? We can move faster. And so we're doing this already internally with our case study. We unleashed Genie for our business users so they can have a conversation with their data. And our advisory team that helps our organizations improve their care that I talked about. It's a reusable UI, a transparent SQL, and we'll get into the results at the very end, but we really road tested Genie and got 100% accuracy. A lot of that I pushed back to the 4 years war we had, Civil War, to combine all our data in Unity Catalog and have the metadata and stuff, so that was very helpful. And it can continuously learn and kind of via feedback loops that we'll show in the demo and we'll talk about a little bit more. But with that, I want to turn it over to Jay to talk about how we configured Genie and then to give you guys a live demo of what we did. Thank you.
Check. Yep. Thanks, Tim. Hey, guys. Before I take you to the demo of Genie and show you how Genie responds to some of the healthcare questions that I'm going to ask, I just want to walk you through some of the steps that we performed in order for Genie to be accurate and precise in the response. And like any other RAG-based architecture, there are 3 basic steps that you have to do. You have to configure, you have to operate, and then evaluate while you're operating, and then go back to optimize again. And that's what we did with Genie as well. The optimization involved here, basically Genie gives you 3 handles, and we will, we'll show you all those. Optimization process is very simple. You have to provide enough context or enough information for Genie to be able to process your business. So if somebody is asking a business-related question, Genie is able to interpret that and convert that into accurate SQL, and then go and fetch data for the person who is asking the question. Our data, basically we have a driver table where we have pre-calculated measures, thousands of them. One, my colleague Tim just talked about, was readmission. You go to hospital and you don't want to come back. There are thousands of measures like diabetes, sepsis, and everything. And if you want to you want to access that measure, you have to understand what the code for that measure is, so that's the identifier. And then that measure table spreads out and connects to other tables if you want more information about the patient who's part of that measure. So the challenging part for us here was to provide enough context to Genie so Genie can take a question from the user and then translate that question into the correct measure code, and then go to the correct tables to pull all the information that is being asked by the user. So the first thing what we had to do for Genie to be efficient was to make sure that we have the tables and the columns that Genie has access to meet that objective, right, is clearly defined. And here, the definitions that we would want to put here is why this table is there, and if you could describe the content of the table. Now, I'm not talking about some obvious things like if the variable says gender column, and then the values are F and M there, it's clear that F female and Genie and LLM, they understand that. But if you have very specific values, say it says gender description, but the values are 0s and 1s, which Genie doesn't know that. So you have to provide those here. So, and Databricks provides the AI assistant, if you would like. It can access your data and give you a nice description that you can use that for table. So we put that all in Unity catalog. And once we are done with defining all the important columns and tables, we utilized the second handle, which is the instructions. Now, instructions are you can provide your business defaults there. So like, for example, in healthcare, there are so many dates. You have discharge date, you have admission date, you have birth date, you have death date, event date, all kind of date. But say if you're interacting with Genie, your Genie, and somebody just says, give me all the patients for 2022. Now, which date are we talking about? Like, it could be any of those dates. So I instructed Genie that when somebody doesn't specify what date, go ahead and use discharge date. So those defaults are set here. And then you can see, I've put some instructions as to how to decode the measure code from the instruction set. So there's a measure code, readmission, HWR, OE, CA, STD as a measure code. And the instructions are there for Genie to, when somebody asks a question, and I will show you when we go to the demo how it does that. And we also added some business rules. So we provided all the instructions here. And the last and very critical handle here is your SQL examples. So you don't have to anticipate every single question and put SQL for that question. Genie is smart enough. You just give one SQL example, and it can tweak it to adjust around it. So the idea here is that what we in my personal experience, was that you have to give as many variety as possible. So Genie has the context. And remember, the instructions that we were talking about is pretty heavy. Like, it has some limitations. If you put a lot of instructions, it may perform slower. So you have to balance between the SQL examples functions that you can also put and the instructions. So once we were done with the optimization steps, then the next thing was to evaluate and operate, which basically kind of go hand in hand also. So Genie also has options where you can automate the evaluation. One of that option is benchmarks. So here you can see we ran some evaluations there. Here you can put the questions and then put the right answers, and then run it in automation fashion, and Genie would go ahead and generate the answers, compare that with the benchmark answers, and will tell you if it failed, what percentage or what's the accuracy was. So you can then further go and tweak and optimize your instructions, more examples maybe. And then we also use good old-fashioned QA testing here. We evaluated the output against the known reports, making sure Genie is accurate, and and then we have this monitoring activity that it's available in Genie space. And what it lets you do is it gives you a view if you expose Genie to external users. All that interactions is documented, and you can see that a user has an option to rate Genie's response, and based on this good or bad rating, it gives you an opportunity to further tweak and make Genie further improve the accuracy of Genie's output. So these are the steps that we perform to make Genie work, and now I'm going to take you to the demonstration. But before I take you to demonstration, I will have to promote myself to Vice President of Quality in a hospital. Some of you have been to a hospital or work for a hospital, you understand the responsibility that role comes with. So I'm going to share Genie here. I'm going to start the warehouse really quick. We didn't wanted this to be timed out. So this is Genie's interface. This is our opportunity analyzer. You can ask questions here. It's very clean and neat here. Tidy, I would say very intuitive. So as a VP of Quality Advisor, and I have saved this question here. You don't want to see me typing with the spelling mistakes. Maybe Genie can come up with some sort of spell check. That would be something, for future. But what I'm going to do here as a VP of a hospital, I'm responsible for quality of the patient. So in readmission is one example. We don't want a lot of patients to be readmitted. And I want to see what's going on in terms of readmission. So it's going to be a conversation with Genie. So I want to zoom in, and I want to find out in terms of readmission opportunity, which are the service lines that I need to focus on. So now you can see here as Genie is working through the question, there are things that happen here. The first thing that you can see here, which I just love this, is a English version of what Genie just is trying to do. You can go through this, but I don't have to, because I know that the measure codes that was generated is correct. It's right here. This is the highlight here and the right version. So here I'm asking Genie to give me the opportunity for 2022. I did not say discharge date, so Genie is supposed to take the discharge date here. And then I said, sort that opportunity by service line. And it clearly tells me here that general medicine has the highest opportunity. Few other things over here, as you can see. There is, if you want to make sure, 100% sure that whether the code is right or wrong, you can actually see the code in the back end that Genie generates. I have seen this many times. This is the right calculation, but you see how we are here generating the measure code based on somebody says hospital-wide readmission. This measure code gets generated, and then the version here is V4 2023, and then you can see the discharge date, which is default for the year 2022, and this gives you the answer. The other thing that I really like here is you can download. If you want to share in a presentation, you have an option to either download this, or you can also copy the data as a CSV. If you have a larger data set, you can do that as well. You can regenerate a response if you think that something else needs to be tweaked. So these options are already available. And then this is the icing on the cake. You get the visualization as well. And when we started doing this, and since then there are a lot more features available here. Now, if you tell Genie to so for example, if I come here and see if there is a visualization option, the bar is default, but you have option to choose other visualization as well. If you want to take a screenshot for a presentation or anything like that, you can do that. You can also sort this if you like. There is a sort option available, and then take the screenshot. So this is really cool, and it keeps getting better. It's just we like it because it's so easy to take a screenshot and just go to the presentation. I always like to, pat Genie on back if it does a good job here. This is where the feedback is, and this is so important. These feedbacks helps, to improve the query further. All right, so now that I know that general medicine is where I need to focus on, I want to, ask a few other questions though, however. Like, for example, the service line is a big thing, right? But which particular disease should we focus on within that service line, right? So let's ask that question with Genie, and I think I got it here. It's basically a preloaded question. I'm just saying, show me the opportunity for a particular disease for general service line and see what happens here. So now Genie is processing that and thinking about it. Hopefully we'll get to see the disease that is causing our readmission to in general medicine service line to go high. Now, if you look at this, there are a few things that you can appreciate here. I did not have to mention readmission. Okay, I just said opportunity, and Genie has that context, that the conversational context that we are talking about readmission. Then obviously I'm following up on readmission. So it generated the code based on the conversational effect, and then the right version here. And I said Genie to give me general medicine, so that was right here, so we got that. And again, all those panels exactly the same. You can download, see the code. The thing I want to focus on here is septicemia, because septicemia has the highest opportunity, and it is also one of the leading cause, of death in hospital. So we want to focus on septicemia, and I want to know which facilities have high return because of sepsis. The patients are coming back. I'm just going to copy. I just already have a preloaded question, so I was going to type it. I will save you some time. And I'm going to just copy this question again for you. And let's see if Genie can tell me which facilities, which of the hospital are doing poorly in terms of septicemia-based readmission, right? And you can see it's strikingly fast. Like it takes like 10 some seconds to convert that that question into SQL and then go get the data. There's a lot of work that's happening behind, and we didn't have to train or create a RAG-based architecture, did the vector search, put all the documentation. It's a lot of work to do that. I mean, if you are involved with this like I am, you would understand that the work effort for us to get Genie here was a lot lesser than if we had to do the RAG system from scratch. So based on this, you can see that South Premier General, this is the facility where we are seeing highest readmission in terms of septicemia. And there are other hospitals too that if you want to focus, you can. And so there, like you have about all the 15 facilities listed, and you can see that there are some hospitals that have negative opportunity, means they're doing really good. So you can compare what's happening here versus what's happening here process-wise, right? And occasionally when you have this data, you're going to have to actually making sure that when you share this with physicians responsible or whoever is in charge, they would like to see, well, yeah, you're saying this that we have the highest opportunity, right, 35, but who are those patients? Like, tell us, right? So you want to get into that detail as well. So you can. I mean, I just want to prepare for that conversation with that whoever in charge of that facility is, with all the data available. So I'm going to ask Genie, and this is the last question, and then I'm going to have Tim summarize this, and you all can ask your questions, follow-up questions. So I'm going to ask Genie to give me the list of patients that returned because of septicemia, and I have provided this that says like observed to expected is greater than 5. What it really means is we are only interested in patients that had very likelihood of coming back was less than 20%, but they returned anyways. So we are only focusing on those patients. So let Genie run this really quick, and then we can. And this is a loaded question, by the way. There is a lot of things going on. And if you can see the code here, all that Genie is doing with additional, a factor of greater than 5, which is, likelihood of 5 times less likelihood, and they still return. So you can see now I have these patient information, their admission and discharge date, and with all these information, I can have the next conversation with whoever, the person is. This dings all day long when you're at work, right? So you saw in all of these, we were able to do that in not that much effort. Like if you have to do RAG, it takes months to get it right, with all the right documentation. So with this, I'm gonna ask my colleague Tim to come and do a final summarization and then close the um, the meeting for us. Thank you.
So how long do you think that took Jay to do that when he started with Genie? That's what might get lost a little bit. 3 days. He did this in 3 days, right? And I know as a non-practicing reformed data scientist, I couldn't do this in 3 days even in my peak, and neither could Jay, right? 3 days we did this, right? And so let me just talk a little bit about the results. And that's the great thing about Genie that I really love is it took all of our work with Unity Catalog and metadata and built us a bot that could help our organizations and our advisory folks help people come home to their families. Not to be too missionary about it, but that's why we chose this example. But like 3 days, guys. And while I think Jay and I are awesome, if we can do it, probably most people in the room can do it. If you use Unity Catalog and use Genie and describe those instructions, that we're good, but we're not that good. And so what I would impart to you guys is this is a real tool that can really accelerate. I mean, everybody's doing projects. Not that much stuff is getting to production, especially internally. This can get to production immediately, right? So I just want to impart that. So we did a case study with Databricks because we were impressed and they asked us to. And so results, again, from initial configuration, it took 3 days of effort. When we write SQL, it's 10 times faster than I am writing SQL. Now you might say I'm slow. We tried it with other people too. I'm an ex-DBA. We said, well, surely it's not accurate. There's got to be something wrong with it. We tested it against production reports that have been hit more than 100,000 times, right? And none of the answers were wrong. None of them. We ran through with our trainers and our non-technical people. Every single answer from that bot was right. Now, it doesn't mean it won't ever throw an error, but for the stuff we tested that had been V&V'd through our production development process, it was 100% right. So what are we going to do next with Genie? Well, we're working on now, this is an internal production release. How do we get it through to our 20,000 users, right, that are in hundreds of hospitals? That's making it really real. So we don't want to have a bad day, and we're working on with the Databricks team on some features that will allow us to more easily expose Genie rather than rebuilding Genie with the API thing, which I know we could do. We want to really define when we want to use Genie, and Genie for agentic AI versus Mosaic ML and stuff like that. There's a fine line, so we want to make sure that we're doing that, right? And we want to look forward to some of the new features, which I'll talk about in just a second here. Really, what we want to do is make sure we get a path to production all the way, all day long. And so one feature that you guys may be aware of, if not, they've got a CRUD feature coming for Genie. So it's fine, but we don't want to deploy this by hand 400 times. We're talking at scale, right? So we want to have a CRUD feature that allows us to do API work when we want to deploy it at scale. We have already trained our internal team on Genies, but we want to consider what operations process, like any other bot that has a thumbs up, thumbs down, who does it go to? Somebody thumbs downs it and goes nowhere, that's not great. So we want to make sure our operations teams are set up to kind of scale this when we go externally. And then as we roll out more Genies with that CRUD feature, Databricks has coached us maybe to consider a Genie of Genies. We haven't got there yet, but usually you want to start with your bots small and then subject area focus so you trained them, their accuracy is good. But when you get 10 or 20 of these, right, we want to loop it into a Genie that can know where to route the question. That's what we're thinking, at least initially. And we're hoping for big announcements tomorrow, like everybody. We don't know if there's going to be any big announcements on the AI/BI tool, but we're hoping that we continue to see Databricks improve the journey. We like engineering too, but we want to get insights in the hands of people that can make a difference, right? So we like Genie because it helps accelerate our production timelines, and it's a tool. I mean, I'm not saying it's the tool and the only tool, but it's a tool to really get this into real life production, and make sure that it's bulletproof. So that's kind of it with that. Check out our case study if you want. It's up on the web as well, again, LinkedIn. And then we have a few minutes for questions if anybody has any questions.